Well, one of the things that I think we like to do, well, I think we like to do always. Well, let me say that differently. I don't think we like to do it always. I think sometimes we're really shy about letting people know about this because they'll do what we're about to do. And that's too bad, because you should love it, because you should embrace it, and you should celebrate it. And that thing is that quite often, particularly in Bashaw, we like to sing, we like to sing a birthday song for people who are having birthdays. And in Bashaw, we have a little song for that. Right now, if anybody's watching whose birthday is around about now, they're probably getting nervous, because let me tell you, there's a bunch. So tomorrow is Fern's birthday, and Fern is not a kid, but it's important to celebrate every birthday. Last Thursday was Aubrey's birthday, and Aubrey is at the age when birthdays are awesome and special, and she should love every single one of those, Aubrey. I'm watching you. Every single one. And also, last Thursday, the McKelveys have a new grandchild. Brian and Joe had a little girl named Georgina, and there's nothing we want to celebrate more than, a new birth. Today is actually Myrna Garrett's birthday, too. Also not a kid, but should still be celebrating a birthday. So we're going to sing, I'm going to sing the birthday song that we sing in Bashaw. You sing Happy Birthday, or the birthday song, or if you know a different birthday song, please do join me in singing that. Happy birthday to you, oh happy birthday to you. May you feel Jesus near every day of the year. Oh happy birthday to you, oh happy birthday to you. Have the best year you've ever had. And we mean it, have the best year you've ever had. 2020 isn't really so far shaping up like the best year, but you're going to have the best year. I want to share a story with you today. It's a story, it's a story about a seed. Once upon a time, there was a seed. And the seed looked around at the world and saw how vast, how huge, and gigantic everything in the world was. And the seed looked at itself and realized it was very tiny. And then it looked around at all of the other seeds and noticed that all the other seeds were bigger. That this seed was very tiny. But this seed wasn't really into comparing itself to other seeds, or in fact the world around it. And this seed thought, I am perfectly the right size. I am so perfectly tiny, I can go anywhere. I can go wherever I want. And I'll fit anywhere because I'm so tiny. Isn't that amazing? And the seed did just that. The seed rolled off the table onto the pathway and into the garden. And the seed found itself just the perfect place. And it snuggled down into the dirt. And the seed looked around and saw that there were other seeds snuggling themselves down into the dirt. And those seeds he noticed weren't just bigger, they were different shapes. Like some were pointed on one end and round on the other, some were square, some were kind of long but rounded on the ends. And the seed realized he was perfectly round. But again, the seed thought to itself, because I'm perfectly round, it's not just that I can go anywhere. It's that wherever I am, I can just snuggle in on my back, on my front, on my side. Doesn't matter, because I'm perfectly round. Well, it wasn't long before, of course, the nice warm soil and the nice warm sun and the rains caused the little seed to grow. And before long, the little seed was poking a stick out the top of the dirt and growing into a nice strong stem, reaching up towards the sun. And as that happened, the seed looked around in the rest of the garden, and the seed happened to notice that all the other seeds were doing that too. And all the other seeds had perfectly straight stems, and they were producing beautiful, tiny little elegant rounded leaves. And before long, they produced beautiful flowers of all sorts of different shapes and colors and sizes. And the seed, which was now a little plant, looked at itself and went, you know, my stem appears to be really kind of crooked, and it's not thin, it's kind of thick and it's strong though. And my leaves, they're not really elegant and little and pretty. They're big, and they've got kind of like edges to them that are funny shapes. And then the new little plant noticed that, in fact, the little plant was growing bigger than the other plants in the garden. And butterflies and dragonflies and little bugs would land on its wings, on its leaves, because that's a perfect spot to have their lunch. They were just big enough. And then as it got even bigger, the leaves got bigger, and he noticed that small animals and birds, like mice and birds and other creatures, would rest in the shade underneath its leaves. Some of them even curled themselves up against its stem because it was just the right shape to kind of squeeze in and get comfortable. And the little plant realized how perfect it was for doing all of those things. And then it looked out and it saw all of the other plants and all of the other trees and flowers in the garden and thought, my goodness, isn't everything just perfect? And then the gardener happened to come home and look out the window. See, the gardener, there'd been this pandemic, and the gardener had gotten sick, and he'd been away for a while. And so the gardener came home and looked out the window, and he had his little daughter with him. And the gardener looked out and said, look at how perfect the garden is right now. Look at all the trees and all the plants, all the flowers, how beautiful they all are, and they're all in their perfect little rows just where I planted them months ago. Look at how beautiful that... What is that weed doing here? He said very loudly. Look at it, sitting there right next to the path, in the middle of all that beauty. And the little girl looked out at the garden and said, what is that? That's the most perfect plant I've ever seen. Isn't it amazing and beautiful? And the gardener said, what? And the little girl said, well, look, just look. See how it's perfectly placed right next to the path. See how it's grown in a way that's just perfect for butterflies and dragonflies to land on its leaves, and for birds and small animals to rest in the shade under its leaves, and for some of them even to snuggle up to its strong stem where it's safe and comfortable. And best of all, look at how perfect it is where it is, because now it can see the beauty of all the rest of the garden around it. And the gardener went outside and picked up his watering can to go and water the garden. And the first thing he did was water the brand new plant that had the best view of the rest of the garden. See, sometimes it's about perspective. It's about how we see things. It's about what we see when we look. Do we see the beauty of all of creation, or do we just see the things that we've decided ought to be beautiful? Because the thing about God's creation is it's huge and vast, and there's a lot of very different things in it. And everything has its place in the garden. Everything.